and welcome back. Thanks for tuning into my third episode, I guess you call it that, of How to Quit Your Job and Move to New Zealand. Today I'm going to talk to you about the three major pros and cons that I've experienced in the decision to quit your job as a lawyer and move to New Zealand. But first, I want to again start with a quick little head note, I guess I'll call it. And I just want to say a huge, resounding thank you to everyone who got me to this point. We're all alone, but we're all kind of in this together. And I think that that was never more clear to me than when I did this and when people, supported me and helped me get out here. My parents took my dogs. They also helped me move. My brother and his girlfriend also helped me move. I had friends who gave financial support. You know who you are, and and friends who gave a lot of emotional support, and that meant the world to me. And so thank you. I don't want it to seem like I did this all on my own. I did not. This is, the result of people coming together and supporting me. So thank you. And with that, I want to get into what it's been like and to go into the pros and cons of making this huge, crazy decision to move across the world and start a new life. Um, I like to start with the bad news and then end on the good news. It's because I like bad news better than good news, but no, it's because I like to end on a lighter note. The three major cons. The first one is probably going to be the most obvious, and that is finances. I went from an $80,000 a year salary at a federal job with benefits to making about $80 a day with no benefits. Um, but it's an adjustment, and whoever says that money doesn't lead to happiness had to have had some money because no, money doesn't buy happiness, but it doesn't hurt. And not having money doesn't buy you a whole lot. So finances is something to consider. That's something that's going to be a struggle. And yeah, that's been probably the number one con. It causes a lot of stress and strife in my life. And yeah, that's number one. So number two, um, I talked last time about, when you're free falling, you're still going to be thinking about the ground. And that is kind of on a heavier note, on a personal note, what I want to say the second con is, and that is being alone and having this huge reckoning on you. There's so much mental and emotional strife that goes into not having a clear path or direction for where you want your life to go next. And it's terrifying. Um, and there's just moments of darkness and moments where you feel like giving up, and there's a lot of them. So that is the second con, and it's one that we all have in our own lives. We all struggle in our own ways. I don't mean to say that coming to New Zealand is where my mental struggle started, or that other people don't have other mental struggles. We all do. And but being in this position is a real challenge, and there's just a lot to deal with and to reckon with yourself. That fear of failure, and that fear that you're missing out on doing what you were trained to do. For me, being a lawyer is just really heavy. So that would be my second and probably the biggest con for me. Um, but it also has a bright side, which I'll talk about later. The third con is, probably going to be obvious as well because I'm going to talk about it every single time. And that is that my dogs were my world and I miss them so much. And I miss my friends and family too. Not having any familiarity with a place and just feeling like you are, swallowed in this new world that you place yourself in, um, can be, a struggle. And you do get homesick and you do, wish you had a friend or mostly your dogs to be there with you. So that would be my third con. So now to end on a lighter note, what the three pros are of being here, and they're big. So keep that in mind. Um, the first one, I think, is probably the biggest one, and that is that you have a whole lot more free time to explore your options and to really look at what lights your soul on fire. And like I said, with the cons, it's a reckoning, and it's tough, and it takes a lot of just uh, mental strength to kind of figure those out. But but it's a pro because when you are in a soul sucking job, you don't have the soul it takes to find out what lights your soul on fire. So being able to have the time and the energy and the ability to look into that truly is probably the number one pro, even if it is stressful and terrifying and leads you to crying in the fetal position on the floor sometimes. So, but that leads to kind of the second pro, um, which is goes along with it. It's letting go of people's expectations of you and letting go of the expectation of yourself to be what you always have been, and to look into who you are and who you want to be. And when you aren't surrounded by people that you know, and you're not going to run into your old law school professor in the grocery store and have to explain that now you're waiting tables, um, it allows you to set aside that expectation. And that's, part of the reason I wanted to come around the world was to do that, and to be able to fully let go of that expectation, and for myself as well, um, which again goes along with that mental strife, and um, but it also is incredibly freeing to be able to do that for yourself. So that would be my second pro, and then my third and final pro is also probably I don't know, just as big as the other ones. And that is that New Zealand is incredibly beautiful. It's an amazing country. The people here are kind and good, and just so polite. And um, it's been a really good experience getting to see what another culture is like. Being in a common law uh, country was, what I wanted to do, just in case I wanted to get back into the law. But it also helps that they speak the same language and they have a pretty high GDP. So it wasn't like I was going into Cambodia as a Peace Corps volunteer, which was another option that I actually had that I didn't do. Um, but being in New Zealand in particular is an absolute pro because it is so beautiful. And I've just been places and been brought to tears by how incredibly gorgeous the landscape is. And so I couldn't have picked a better place to explore as far as seeing all that the world has to offer. So that would be, if not the biggest one of the biggest ones. So that's why there's the top three all kind of together. Um, so those are my pros and cons of quitting your job and moving to New Zealand. Another con, if you didn't see that, was that there are sandflies here, and they hurt. So keep that in mind if you come to New Zealand. They're here and they're real, and it's bad. So thanks for joining in, and please check out my blog. I'll post the link in the comments below. It's complementing this, and I'm trying to catch up with where I am. I've been in New Zealand now for almost 3 months, so I'm trying to get caught up on both of these, but I'll get there eventually. By the time I leave, we'll be all caught up. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Bye.